Hey, it's Elaine and Mark from the Honeymoon Period podcast. And if we sound slightly different, that's because we're in a different part of the living room.
I'm not comfortable with that joyous
I
opening.
knew it. I was looking at you thinking you are going to hate this.
Hey, yep. We're not the dream team.
We are. We are the dream team,
That's
darling.
a reference. That's a reference that no one will get.
What is that reference? I feel like I was agreeing with the whole dream team concept, but is the dream team some sort of... Is it a footballing thing?
No.
No?
I mean, there was a TV show called Dream Team.
That's what I'm thinking.
But Dream Team were a garage act that appeared, like, with DJs on Radio 1 in the late, must be early 2000s.
Was DJ Spoonie
Yeah,
part
Spoonie
of
was
them?
part of them, yes.
I remember.
Yes, and then has gone on to bigger and better things.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, I'm just going to turn it onto silent. That's,
Anyway, while Mark does that, we're in a different part of the living room because we've moved everything around. We're in the process of, well, anyone who's listened to the podcast before will have heard the in the forever state that is renovating our house. So yes, we've moved things about.
I think anyone who's listened to our podcast before might stop listening.
Yeah, I think you might be
this,
given up by now.
This crap.
Yeah. Well, you said, have you got an opening for the podcast? And I was like, well, I'm just really conscious that we're in a different part of the house and recording, and I wonder what it's going to sound like.
I'll rephrase that now. Have you got anything interesting to
got
start
a
the
good
podcast
opening?
with?
No.
Watching television. Our Saturday nights have been taken over again.
By Strictly Come Dancing?
Yes.
I was trying to think then, what sort of things is going on a Saturday? And then I thought, yeah, it's Strictly. Go on then. What are you thinking about Strictly this year? We haven't had the conversation yet about... Obviously, we're watching it every weekend together.
Yeah.
But we haven't really had a conversation about whether we're enjoying it or not, what we think of the people. Go on, you give us a go.
Season 19 of Strictly Come Dancing.
Yes.
It's almost getting too strong for me now.
In terms of the people and their talent.
There are really, really talented dancers in this now. And not even like trained dancers. So for people who don't watch Strictly Come Dancing, there is a range of celebrities, from sports stars who've just come off the cricket or football or rugby pitch to stage school people who probably had a couple of roles on the West End and are learning ballroom dancing. And it doesn't take a genius to say that someone who's done a few West End musicals might do a bit better who's done a few games at Old Trafford and
What, better than them?
Yeah. But this year, even the non-dancing celebrities seem to be so strong.
Yeah. And people who I've known for like presenting and maybe not even like one show presenters.
Yeah.
Or BBC news people who are sort of like flitting around the channels and maybe rising stars, perhaps, let's say that.
Yeah.
They are so strong, and I've not read anything about like stage school, but then you don't know what people have got in their background. But like, there are some people that you just think, how are they doing that? Like, if they were on the West End, I probably wouldn't know the difference between them and the rest of the performers there. Yeah.
John Waite, who's won the first series of the Bake Off, did he?
I don't know if he won or not. I don't remember any of the early series of the Bake Off.
Is phenomenal.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
In the first two male partnership,
Yeah.
the first two female partnership last year.
With Nicola Adams.
Yeah, but he's in a partnership with Johannes.
Who's amazing.
And their Pirates of the Caribbean dance on Movie Week was just awesome.
It was epic. It's like and that music as well, and the costumes, and like this week they did Charleston, and the synchronization between the two of them. We've just watched a repeat of it because we've just come off the results show. Actually,
Yes.
We've just watched the results show and then we've come on to record, and just watching a 30-second clip of them. I can't believe how, and they're using props. They're using baguettes as props, and they're doing all this stuff about baking, and just amazing. Absolutely, like stellar. They're my sort of nod for winners. I think. As long as you don't peak too soon, that's the problem, isn't it?
I think that is the problem.
Yeah.
My favourite, and I cry whenever she dances, is Rose Ayling-Ellis. Is she from EastEnders?
No.
Are you sure?
No. No, it's just you said that to me before, and I was absolutely convinced that she wasn't from EastEnders.
I mean,
look her up. Is she?
Is
she right? Okay. Yes, she's from EastEnders, Mark.
She is a deaf actress who has joined as one of the first ever hard of hearing contestant. I think we need to be really careful not to call her an inspiration and things like that.
Absolutely.
I think it can be a bit patronising to say that, but I think she is doing such a good job she uses BSL, and it's shown as part of her training. When she's getting a comment from the judges each week, there is a BSL interpreter there. And just to have that increased knowledge and exposure to BSL is so important. And she's such a good dancer. She's doing so well.
Beside all of that, she's a really beautiful dancer.
For someone who can't hear the music as well as the other contestants, I well up every time she starts crying, every time she starts dancing. So
and Giovanni, who's her partner, said something really interesting a couple of weeks ago, which was that he feels like he's dancing with a dancer because she is hearing the music through his body, which is what a professional dancer would do. They're not necessarily listening out for the music. And of course she can feel the music to a certain extent. She was trying to explain that the other week, but actually she's feeling his body movements and responding to those. So I thought that was really, really interesting in terms of the dancing and the professionalism of the dancing. But I think she's doing a brilliant job in educating the public. There will be people out there like us who have deaf children who are really, really proud to see that sort of representation.
She's winning it for me.
Yeah, I know. You're crying now. I can see.
So I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm on the I mean, so much of this it's not the best dancer who wins it. It is the person who's had the journey.
It's the journey.
Yeah. And I'll give her the trophy now for me.
Fair enough. The only thing is, I've sort of got a few weeks in, and last weekend I was away for the results show, and I completely forgot that it was on, and got spoiled on the Sunday night into the Monday, and watched a bit of the results show on the Monday on catch up, but wasn't really that bothered, and I didn't really feel anything about the result itself, and I do wonder whether maybe it's just not holding my attention as much as it has done in the past, and maybe that's because there are so many good things on television at the moment. It
is lacking a bit of star power. Who do you think was the biggest star this year?
Well, they were trying to make it Greg Wise because his wife is Dame Emma Thompson, so you don't often get a dame in the audience. I don't know, really, to be honest with you.
But he's Dame adjacent rather than a Dame himself. Same with Tilly Ramsey.
Like her dad is a famous chef, Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, I don't know, because I struggle sometimes to sort of visualise them, to go through the list of who's there. I don't know. I think they were positioning Greg Wise as being the most famous.
Dan Walker, Adam Peaty.
It's like, would
Tom
people
from
know
McFly.
Dan Walker outside of the UK, for example? Would you?
It doesn't
would
matter,
you know a
that,
BBC breakfast
does it?
presenter? I don't know. Well, I think it is. If you're trying to say who's the biggest star, I would say on an international scale, who do people know internationally?
But it's just Strictly Come Dancing. It's not on an international scale.
No, but if you're trying to create a hierarchy, that would be where I start. I would start who is known beyond their immediate pool.
Yeah, I think it's
like Adam Peaty might be one of the most famous. Well, I'm talking about a pool. Adam Peaty might be because he's an Olympian.
I mean, then you're saying that, it's bigger to get a basketball star than it is to get
It might be.
I'm trying to think of an above average
You're trying to think of like an actor?
David Jason.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. Do many people know Only Fools and Horses outside of, Great Britain?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
What do you mean?
So I'm saying like David Jason would be a huge star to get on.
Right.
But by your account, if Fred
I'm not convinced David Jason would be a huge star to get on. Would he? Would he really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe like if it was
National Treasure.
In the 80s. Yeah, he's not doing much now, is he? And he's a bit older. I'm thinking of someone younger and like really big star power. I'm thinking like your Beyonce's. I know you're not going to. Oh, Adele.
Imagine.
Do you know what I mean?
Imagine
That's
if
what
Adele.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. But the point I'm making is that Adele is famous worldwide, whereas I think someone who's huge in the UK but not necessarily worldwide would be Harry Kane. That's different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Harry Kane's going to give up football
a big footballer. Yeah, I totally get that.
To do a twirl with Diane as well.
Footballers on previous. There must have been footballers on in the past.
Yeah, Peter Shilton was on.
Oh yes, he was. Yeah.
I can't.
I think the younger ones, because you've had cricketers on, sort of former cricketers on.
I suspect it's money based.
Okay.
Cricketers are doing nothing in the winter, so you can get current players or players who who can train all day every day, whereas footballers are playing football throughout the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoying it. You're enjoying it. Obviously, you love Rose.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of annoys. It's kind of what we spoke about Love Island, in that it's a big investment. It's like 2.5 hours every Saturday night, and it's.
We can fast forward quite a bit of it because we do often come to it late, and then we can fast forward through some bits.
And me and the boys have a WhatsApp group.
You do. Yes. Less said about that, the better, really, isn't it? I'm not allowed to get involved, though. That's the bit I'm most upset about.
It's boys' club.
I know, it is the boys' club, but you're like laughing and looking at your little WhatsApp things, and I'm like peeking over to see what the... no, not allowed. No. Not allowed. No. Private joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of jokes, should we go on to our next televisual event that I can't believe I said okay to?
I'm surprised.
I know, but you got me. You must have got me at a really weak moment. But yes, you suggested that we watch... You'll have to say the name of it because I'm just going to say The Undertaker's Magic TV event.
Escape the Undertaker. So this is one of the Netflix interactive game TV shows. So was it Bandersnatch?
Bandersnatch from
the Black Mirror episode. And there's been a few Bear Grylls things launched this is a WWE tie-in where the recently retired Undertaker is living in his castle or his mansion.
Of course he is, yeah.
And
full of dry ice.
The tag team The New Day want to break into his house.
I hate The New Day.
And steal his magical urn.
Of course they do.
Because
he's going to give them powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's watching them on his CCTV a lot, which is a bit creepy.
Yeah, so this is essentially a remake of Sliver from the 90s.
And so when they approach the house, you will be given a series of options. So knock on the door, go around the back, that's what they are. And they're in the house. Do you want to go upstairs? Do you want to go down to the basement? So we were given those options, and we were able to press, and then it jumps to that, like one of those books where. I think Osborne Choose Your Own Adventure books. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, you were to roll, do you want to turn left or turn right? Yeah. This is crap. Oh, I'm so pleased you said that. This launched without any fanfare whatsoever, and rightfully so. I think, if anything, they gave it too much. All the choices are there are a lot of people on screen having a lot of fun. I think they're enjoying themselves. But all the choices they have you make are absolutely arbitrary. So it is... you can't, nothing has a consequence. Yes, yeah. You can follow people, but it all seems to go to the same spot anywhere. We won it the first time we did it, so It's not even like a game. No. And halfway through, I just gave up choosing. You took over and just pressed things. And then every now and again, you would say to me, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't care. Don't really care, but we'll do that. And then we still ended up winning with this urn thing. It was awful. But I did wonder whether WWE fans would find it better. Maybe I was coming to it with... Not me. Not you. Okay, right. But yeah, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. Oh, maybe kids would like it. I don't know. Maybe. Like your average 9-year-old maybe would find it fun for 10 minutes. I don't think kids are watching wrestling nowadays. I don't think they are either. The average age of people that watches wrestling is shockingly high. Really, the average people, it's 50 to 60 years old. It is, yeah. So not a recommendation. Everything, probably the worst thing we've ever watched, and that includes that Channel 5 thing with Paul Mescal. What Channel 5 thing with Paul Mescal? Oh, we watched something on Channel 5. This drama, yes. And it had him in, and he was just he was quite a strange character in it. Yes. I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, I totally get what you've seen, even though I can't remember it. Yeah, that was bad, wasn't it? That was crap. This is worse. It wasn't great, and it was meant to be like a fun sort of Friday night sort of thing, wasn't it? And it just wasn't. Yeah, we'd have had more fun just turning off the telly and staring at the black screen. Okay.
Put that on the poster, Netflix, if you're going to advertise it.
So, shall we finish with something a little bit better? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Should we go for Succession?
Yes.
Season 3 Succession. Succession is back.
I think we need to sell what Succession is. Because...
We need to sell it?
Yeah. I don't think enough people know about this show. Really?
I don't think you're right. I think lots of people know about this now. This is being positioned as the new Wire. That Game of Thrones gets bandied about, but I don't think that's the right genre.
No. I think if I went into work, everyone was talking about Game of Thrones the next day. No, I'd not heard anyone talk about this outside of our podcasts that we listen to and stuff like that.
I think
it's not the cultural phenomenon that Game of Thrones is. It is the cult critics' darling that The Wire and The Sopranos is for me.
I'm not convinced that the pandemic hasn't sort of coloured your view on this, because when I'm in the office now, for example, I don't tend to see many people, so I'm not having those sort of corridor conversations or conversations in the shared office space about what I'm watching with other people. I'm sure that, especially knowing the people that I hang around with at work, they would be talking about Succession without any prompting.
I'm telling you now. Okay. I said, is anyone watching it? And everyone went, no. What is it? Right. So,
okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, you carry on your little thing there.
But I do think that the tide has turned with it. Maybe if we'd said a couple of years ago, I agree. But I do think it's getting a lot of press now.
I totally agree. But I don't think it's the cultural phenomenon that it is. I think it is still critics' darling. And, yeah.
But do you agree that it's really moving in that direction?
It is, yeah, absolutely.
People, I mean, the memes and all of the podcasts that, general podcasts that we listen to, but also the specialist ones people are coming out with, spoiler specials, they're coming out with interviews. There was that massive event.
Before we go, can we talk about what it actually is?
All right, you go. Yeah. You carry on, love.
So this is the story of a media family that may or may not be...
The Murdochs.
Yes, the Murdochs. Headed by Logan Roy, who is played by Brian Cox, not Professor Brian Cox,
but
actor
could be a
Brian Cox.
Be, yeah.
His 4 children are Roman Roy, played by Kieran Culkin, Connor Roy, played by Alan Ruck, Shiv Roy, played by Sarah Snook, and Kendall Roy, played by Jeremy Strong, are all vying to take over the company from Logan when he retires.
I'm not sure Connor is, but yes. I'll let you in there.
Okay. I mean, this is largely the plotline of the beginning. The pilot of Succession is largely very similar to the pilot of Arrested Development, which is a show...
Oh, yeah. Right, okay.
So Arrested Development is a show about a family who own a property development business, and the pilot is their dad's about to step down as the company, and Michael Bluth, played by Teen Wolf 2, is Jason Bateman, is expected to be named as a successor. Yeah, and then he declines to stand down and hands it to his mother instead. And the pilot of Succession is very much similar.
Yeah, it's all about who is going to take over from Logan Roy, played by Brian Cox, as you say. And you would think that wouldn't really sustain it for very long, but here we are at season 3, and the twists and the turns and the character development. Personally, this is my favourite TV show, and it's edging up the list of all time.
It's very, very good. It's between this and Better Call Saul for me. Okay. You won't be surprised to to hear. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go on.
Is it a comedy or is it a drama?
Oh, I've been hearing this a lot. And just to go back to my point, this is where all the podcasts are coming out with people saying that. I know exactly where you've got this from, because people are talking about this on all their podcasts. New ones have popped up where people are specifically looking at Succession, but even on your typical TV and film podcast, they're doing spoiler specials and things like that. And this question comes up all the time. Is it a comedy or is it a drama? I don't view it as a comedy. And I've got a massive tin ear for comedy. I think there are comedic moments, but I think it's incredibly dark. And maybe that's why I don't think of it as pure comedy. It's not ha-ha, laugh-out comedy. It's very, that real cringe, that real, oh, God, don't do that. But it's funny but not funny.
Yeah, I mean, it is cringe. It is. It's written by Jesse Armstrong, who did Peep Show, which is just pure cringe. Have you ever seen Peep Show?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I know the concept, but I've never seen it.
And The Thick of It.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, cringe is in this show's bones. But this is American production.
Yeah.
It's largely based in America, although
they travel a lot.
Yeah, they travel a lot, and yeah.
It's the sets are just amazing. Like, you're based in New York quite a lot, in these skyscraper buildings, and there's so much opulence and decadence, and everyone's on a private plane, and I love watching it from the point of view of how the other half live, but also they're not happy.
Yes, yeah.
So that's really helpful.
I think that is the thing. From a lot of people who I've tried to explain this to, like, I don't want to see rich people be dickheads.
Yeah.
Which this is where it spends a lot of time doing rich people
exactly
being
that.
dickheads.
I mean, that could be the tagline for it. If someone wants to say, just give me a line for what this is exactly what it is. And even people who you get behind, there's a character in season 3 right at the beginning that you're just like, yes, I'm so pleased for you. I know you've had issues in the past, but I think you've done the right thing. And then you see them do other things and say other things to people and be so narcissistic and see the world just revolving around them, and having an event where something really emotionally terrible has happened, and them viewing that as being really good that they've got those people around them. You know, oh, I'm the king because look at these people, look at these women in particular that I've attracted into my life. Never mind that one of those women might be really upset. And then it falls again, and you just think, oh no, you really don't live in the real world. And I'm still kind of behind you, but everyone has these shades of grey, and that's what I love about every single character. I can find things that I really like about them, but I can also see the darkness as well.
I think we need our Twitter game on point.
Why?
That's a quote from the episode.
Oh, is that? Sorry.
Yes.
I was like, why are you talking about our Twitter account? But yes, exactly that. That's exactly who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And these people do awful things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They use money to get away with it. They use influence. It really reminded me. I've been watching lots of documentaries over the summer about not just the Murdoch family, but people who are big in media. And those documentaries,
I can't possibly think who you're talking about.
I know. But you know. It really reminded me of all those things, and when I watched the documentaries I thought, wow, you know, this is so well referenced, this is not made up. So yeah, I just think it's just a phenomenal show, and everyone talks really fast, and there's a lot of
amazing insults
and just turns of phrase that you just think, wow, I'm going to use that
please don't
for the rest of my life, I think. Yeah. Hard recommend from me.
This is all on Sky Atlantic and the on-demand service now.
Did you just say Sky Go?
Yes.
What is that? Does that exist anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Yeah, Sky Go is the app, but yeah, it's all on the Sky on-demand service.
Yeah.
And on Now TV. So really get into this because this is about to break through. They've already got renewed for a 4th season.
Brilliant.
And this is TV that will have you with your head in your hands, but also punch in the air, often in the same 5 minutes.
Oh, completely. Even the same 30 seconds. And I felt really good sitting down to watch it as well. You know, I can't remember the last show where I was so excited about sitting down and just taking it all in, but also during the course of the episode as well, where they had my entire attention and I was just roller coastering through emotions. I can't remember the last time that happened, but when we've seen episode 1 of season 3, we watched that the entire time. I could feel my heart rate going. I was like doing things with my hands. I was moving about. At no point in time did I pick up my phone or do anything. I was just so into it, and that sometimes that's just like a really fun feeling to have. Really reminds me of the theatre. You know, when you sat in the theatre and you're watching a really, really good production and you're totally into it. That's what it really reminded me of. It is very theatrical, actually.
It is very, very theatrical. Well,
I mean,
interestingly, the way that they film it, I found out today, is they will do one take with multiple cameras set up on it, and often just leave the cameras running, So yeah, there's a really, really interesting, while I shouldn't be promoting other podcasts, there is a really interesting special on the Pilot TV podcast. I don't know if you've listened to that yet. It's
not yet,
really
no.
worth a listen to.
Yeah. There's so many of them.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the highest recommendation. This, providing this doesn't fall off. This, I expect this to be in my top 10 of the year, probably top 5 of the year. Yeah. So yeah,
I can't wait. And I love the fact that we have to wait each week as well. You know, normally that really winds me up, and I just want to consume the whole thing.
Oh no, this is perfect. This is exactly how it should be.
Percolated, and it's got that lovely thing where you can, through the course of the week, really think about what's happened and work out what the strategies will be, whose star will rise, whose star will fall, what will happen to each of these people, and how will the factions, because there's so many factions, isn't it? It's very political. Yeah. And really trying to think, you know, like, I'd love to ask you, I know we're not doing spoilers on this, but I'd love to ask you, you know, who do you think is going to, you know, the story's about succession, who is going to succeed, who is not going to succeed, all of those things. And that's that lovely sort of feeling that you get where you can actually like really get into a conversation with someone.
Team Cousin Greg.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Right, let's. That was so nice to end on a high.
Yes.
Especially after the Undertaker. That was interesting.
Escape the Undertaker, please.
Oh, sorry.
Use its full title.
I'll use its full title in the future. Yeah. Should we do film?
Let's do film.
Just like the movies we play out on the last scene.
Hi everyone. Before we get into our film review section, I'd like to mention that I will be talking about the new Ridley Scott film, The Last Duel. The central narrative of The Last Duel revolves around an act of sexual violence, and I wanted to put up a content warning now. If that's something that you want to avoid, please check out our show notes. There'll be timestamps for you to be able to jump over that section and land firmly in Mark's review of Dune. Thanks, everyone.
So 3 films to talk about today.
Yeah. 3 very different films.
None of which we've seen together. I've seen 2, you've seen 1.
Yeah.
Should we do them in the order we saw them in?
Yeah, go on.
I'll start on Venom, Let There Be Carnage then.
Venom.
The sequel to the surprise hit of 2018.
Yeah.
The original Venom was slated when the trailers came out, was slated when the film came out, but somehow managed to make like $800 million worldwide.
Could you say it was like a cult classic that people really jumped on board and just liked it, you know?
Yeah, I think because, do you remember watching it? Because I have very little recollection of the first one.
Very little recollection of it.
I remember Tom Hardy sat in a tank of lobsters.
I remember Riz Ahmed doing some sort of like paint by numbers baddie.
Yeah.
I really feel bad saying that because I think he's a fantastic actor, but he just sort of felt he was in a different film from Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy was in many different films also in the actual movie.
But the closing of that film, spoilers for the 3 years ago film, introduces Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy.
Does it?
Yes.
See, I don't remember that at all.
Who, if you are a fan of the comics, which I am not, I don't really read comics, but I am now told, has a connection to Carnage, which is a baddie Venom. Venom's kind of an anti-hero anyway, but yeah, anyway.
Because Venom's a symbiote, isn't it?
And
so a symbiote that attaches to Tom Hardy. So is
Carnage
a
is
symbiote?
also,
Right, okay, right. Is it Carnage with a capital K?
No.
Okay.
No. Although
instantly,
interestingly, Cletus Cassidy, the Cassidy is a K.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Natalie Cassidy. No, she has a capital. She has a curly C.
A curly K. Curly K, not a kicking K. Christ,
yeah. Oh, I need to stop. Right, come on then. Tell me about Venom.
Right.
Carnage. Venom. Let There Be Carnage.
Yes.
Venom 2.
Yes. So this is directed by Andy Serkis, and there is a lot of CGI in this, which I think is why Andy Serkis has come on board. Obviously, he is Gollum and King of Mocap and things like that. I think the one thing you could say about Venom was that it had really good people in it. So there's Tom Hardy in it, there's Michelle Williams in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was she in the first one? Oh, she's the girlfriend in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, right, fine.
In this one, obviously Woody Harrelson's a brilliant presence. Naomi Harris is in this, almost unrecognisable. I didn't realise it was her until I saw the closing credits. Stephen Graham turns up as a
lovely.
detective. Yeah. And so it's got a lot going for it. What goes against it is this film is fucking shit.
Oh, I'm so sad.
Do you remember...
With the Andy Serkis connection with all of those people?
Yeah.
And it's 90 minutes.
Yes, it's 90 minutes,
Okay.
which is probably... Yeah, it's...
I'm so surprised because the feeling on like the social media seemed to be that people were really getting behind it. So you obviously are not going with that.
So the way that Venom presents itself is Tom Hardy is sat there, and then the Venom voice will come over the
Hello.
top. Yes,
Oh, that's a terrible.
That's Mark Strong
that's
in
Mark
the
Strong.
in the View advert. Yeah. And that's virtually all the way through this film. It's kind of like your friends are nice. So I don't know if you'll understand this.
Okay.
But you meet friends that have been out on an all-day drinking session and you're sober, and like
Yes.
maybe one thing in 7 is funny, and the
funny.
rest of it's really annoying. That
And
was how I
the
felt
repetition.
all the way through.
Right.
So yeah, like Tom Hardy will be walking down the street, and the Venom voice will go, "He's a dickhead." I mean, that's not what happens, because that's actually quite funny. But yeah.
Yeah, but if someone did that over and over and over again,
Yes.
yeah.
Also, this film seems like it's been stripped back to get a PG-13 rating in the US.
Oh, I didn't realise it was that low. I thought it would be a straight like 15.
It's 15 here.
Oh, okay.
And I think it is the very bottom end of a 15. But considering Venom bites people's heads off, that is often done off screen, like purposefully so.
Right, okay.
And in a world where the Suicide Squad's come out, it's just, you can't get away with that for a 15. I wanted something like quite violent and gory.
You
And
wanted a shark.
it didn't, it just didn't pull up. The reason I went to see this is because news broke that there is something that happens in this film which is significant, and I didn't know anything about it. I muted all the hashtags and I wanted to see it before it did. And I think that paid off everyone in the theatre that was still left, because this wasn't a well-attended film, although it's done gigantic numbers in America, lost their shit when it happened. And that's in the final, that's the post-credit sting.
Okay.
And it's interesting. It sets up a third film, as you would expect, and I think it's where the franchise needs to go. But yeah, I maybe laughed 3 times, and one of them was a British character actor just turning up out of nowhere that made me laugh just because they turned up out of nowhere. Yeah, this is a really bad. It's like, I think the twist at the end. No, it's not a twist. The post-credit sting raises its star, but yeah, this is close to a 1-star film for me. It probably gets up to maybe 2.
Okay. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Boo. Now, in a quite a contrasting...
I don't know how I'm going to follow that. This is really difficult. So I went to see The Last Duel, which is the latest Sir Ridley Scott from
Yes.
round these parts.
Yeah.
So Ridley Scott's latest historical epic. So we know Ridley Scott from Gladiator. He did, is it Kingdom of... I want to say
Kingdom of Heaven,
Yeah,
yes.
which I haven't seen because it didn't get great reviews at the time. Although I know there was a director's cut that people seem to look more kindly
I've
upon.
seen it.
Have you?
It's too long.
Okay, right, fine. But I love a historical epic, and if you say to me, "Oh, it's too long," I'd be thinking, "Oh, brilliant." This is also a long film. This is beyond 2.5 hours. But I was up for that, and I knew what I was getting into. It's essentially a three-hander, sorry, although a three-parter is I've said that wanted to say three-hander, but actually I'm right in saying a three-parter. But it's essentially a three-hander between Jodie Comer, Matt Damon. I had to think there. Matt. I nearly went Matt LeBlanc. It's like that would have been a different film. Matt Damon, he of the mullet, and Adam Driver.
Okay.
So we're set in... I want to say, I should know more about this film. I want to say sort of like 1400s or 14th century. It's probably 12th century or something ridiculous like that.
Electricity in it.
Yeah,
so,
it's before electricity. Think in France. So think chickens being geese being chased through a lot of mud. Think the...
I thought you were going to try to explain to me what time period it is. That's
think big castles with no heating, with straw on the floor. You know, think big battle scenes with people. You know, people's guts flying every. You know, swords and.
I would have started with that, not the
Yeah.
chickens.
That was my main. There was one bit actually where I really laughed because there was someone chasing geese through a village, and I just thought this is exactly how you set the scene for medieval France. Do you know what I mean? Like it hits all those things. You can smell the mud, you can feel the dirt. It is beautifully realised. Like the set pieces are just phenomenal. However, at the heart of the story is the woman, Jodie Comer, who alleges that she has been raped by the Adam Driver character, Matt Damon being her husband. And you see parts of the narrative through each person's eyes. I'm not going to say that it's each person's perspective, because the really important thing about this film, and I think it needs to be said, and I don't think it's a spoiler, the really important part about this film is that we are not to disbelieve Comer. And that was my real concern going into this film. And even though I'd heard a lot about it and heard people say, you know, this is not a he said, she said perspective on history. It is absolutely, we know who is in the right and who is in the wrong here.
Yes.
But what the film does by showing us the three, I'm going to put it in air quotes, perspectives, because it's not a perspective on the event. The three stories as through the eyes of these three characters is that you get to see how each of those people perceives themselves, and in particular the men. So you see part of the narrative through the eyes of Matt Damon. He is dashing, he is wonderful, he is beating people in the battle, he is being kind to his wife. I absolutely took that on face value until I saw later representations of those events. And it's not just that you're seeing the same events over and over and over again, it's you're seeing parts of the story and little bits and pieces coming in to give you that, oh, okay, when he thinks he's hugging his wife, he actually isn't. You know, or when he thinks that he's using this sort of terminology, actually he's being very cruel. And I really, really appreciated that about the film, that it wasn't this, it wasn't a rape narrative that put at the heart of it, oh, well, is she telling the truth, or is she really, is she really having this beautiful affair with Adam?
Yes.
So once I settled into that, that's where I just sort of fell in love with the film. It took a while, however, and that's why I'm sort of going into this level of detail, because I think if you sit with the film for the first sort of half hour to an hour like I did, you might take at face value, like I did, the male character's perspective.
Yeah.
And it was only when it dawned on me that actually I wasn't seeing the truth, in inverted commas, that the film came alive to me. When Comer comes in and when you see her story, it is just all pulls together. And I think it is a beautiful, beautiful film with Comer's performance in particular. Really, like I was thinking she has to win awards for this, you know, stoicism, lightness of touch, because she essentially has to play a different woman from each of the, you know, the male protagonist's perspective, but also from her own character. And she's in this film, we're talking about women as property, and that is such a strong through line as well. You know, what will she come with? What sort of land will she come with? Who does she has to kiss? Well, if her husband tells her to kiss someone else, she just has to do it. You know, that real through line. But her strength of character in seeing this through and doing what other women even now, you know, are forced in terms of a patriarchal society to find themselves in a position where they are not able to get justice.
Yeah.
And just phenomenal. And I did not know how it was going to pan out. I did not know what the final point would be. It's called The Last Duel because there's a big duel. There is a consequence to the, you know, who wins the duel. All of those things were wrapped up. I was absolutely taken by it, and I having sat with it for quite a long time and listened to other people's views on it, I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of creeps in to sort of the low, sort of, when you think about your top 10, whether it creeps in at maybe number 10, number 9 of my films of the year.
I mean, it stayed with you because you, like, whenever I talk to you about it, you just kind of like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The big thing to say about this, that this contains multiple, because you see it more than once, multiple scenes of sexual violence where the camera remains on the face of the person for whom the violence is being perpetrated. It is really, really harrowing. Yeah, those scenes really have stayed with me. And I know that it has had some criticism in terms of showing those scenes not just once, but is essentially having to watch this thing happen over again. But I do think you need to have those scenes to show that the event occurred in the way that that Coma experienced it. It's difficult to recommend because I think you have that element to it, but I think if you go into the film knowing that is what you're going in to see, and you can prepare yourself for that, and that's not something that's going to affect you, and I think there will be many people out there who will not want to go and see this and who will want to avoid it, and that's absolutely fine. I sort of steadied myself, right? I knew what I was going to say. I knew it was really hard. It was very hard. I'm still thinking about it now, but I'm glad I saw it because I thought it was, whilst this was a medieval film, I thought it ticked so many boxes for the way we look at violence against women, sexual violence, women as property, misogyny. It was just absolutely, we were talking about what women were wearing. We were talking about, she smiled at you. She, all of those things. I was like, in my head, I was going tick, tick, tick. This. This is the behaviour that we would have expected of a woman. Oh, we've got expectations about women's behaviour. Okay, that's interesting. I think I'm going to say just a little bit about some of the scenes that, particularly the Adam Driver, when you see his part of the narrative and from his perspective, some of those scenes are very, what I'm going to call, bawdy, and I felt tonally did not really fit within the rest of the film, given its the nature of what it's talking about. And in the film, I was just sitting there going, oh, this has gone a bit Game of Thrones, and I don't think I like it. Ben Affleck has a really interesting haircut and beard. He's gone absolute platinum blonde with and the accents are very interesting, and all of those sorts of things might lead you down like a comedy pathway. And I had to sort of make peace with the fact that if we had seen those scenes from the women's point of view, the women that in these bawdy, I'm going to be inverted commas, bawdy scenes, Game of Thrones, then we may have seen a completely different perspective, but actually we're seeing it from Driver's point of view, and of course he sees women as playthings. So sorry, I've gone on for quite a while. You've been very patient, and you've sat there and you've listened. I thought it was it was a 4-star for me. Okay. A good 4-star, but it took me a while to get there, and I think if people go and see it, don't write it off like I did within this first sort of half an hour, an hour. I was sitting there going, oh God, this is terrible. But it wasn't. Really? Yeah. I just didn't get what it was trying to do.
Okay. I don't really have a lot to answer that. I really want to go see this.
Yeah, I think I'd just say exactly the same thing to you, is I think you need to see the film as a whole. Because I think if you and I had sat here and watched this, I think you would have been playing on your phone within about 45 minutes. I would have been doing the same. We might have had it over like 2 nights or something like that, because it's such a long film. But because I was forced to sit in the cinema and I was forced to just take it as it was, it grew and grew, and I started to understand it more. And I think that's what it needs.
Well, that's largely what I said about the Green Knight and things like that. Yeah.
So I would recommend. I would be interested in your opinion when you finally get around to seeing it.
Can I talk about Dune?
Yes. Speaking of another long film.
So Dune, the latest adaptation of the 1960s Frank Herbert book, sort of seminal sci-fi literature. Have you seen the David Lynch film from the 80s?
It's just not my cup of tea. And obviously I've never read that. I don't read any I've never read sci-fi.
I guess that.
Yeah.
And I take it you've not seen the TV adaptation from the 2000s.
No, I didn't even know there was one. Have you?
No.
So you've not
I
read
went into this film knowing there was something called Spice.
I didn't even know that.
Sting was in the original.
Yes, that's my big thing, is Sting, yeah.
And there's
in
some...
a nappy type thing? Was he in
No,
sort
he
of
had
a
wings.
loincloth? Oh, right, okay.
Right.
I thought there was a loincloth.
That character does not appear in this.
And does Sting appear? Yeah.
No, Sting does not
Importantly.
appear in
Okay.
this. No. So this is the first part of a planned 2-part adaptation, more of which to come up. A brief synopsis, as much as you can, because it's a very dense book by all accounts. And so a family take over a planet where the mining of spice takes place. And their son, who's called Paul, oddly.
Why oddly?
Because everyone else is like, they're all Atreides and they
Like
live on...
Lady so-and-so.
And he's called Paul.
And he's just Paul.
Yeah. He's getting dreams, he feels he's been here before, and there is some connection to the native people who live on the world. Mm-hmm. Like I say, I went into this film knowing absolutely nothing, and the first 10 minutes is a blast of world building. They are the Atreides. They're going to this planet Alabablan. He was supposed to be born a female, but he's born a male, and
Right.
therefore he might be the Quidgy-Bob Lanky-Doo. And there's a lot, like, I've heard criticisms of the book, say it's very dense and there's a lot of terms come in, but at least with the book you can sort of go back a couple of pages and go,
Yes.
hang on, what's the... Yeah. You can't do that in a
Can't
film.
do that in a film, yeah.
I went to see this on a Friday lunchtime in the IMAX screening, which in our local cinema is always the busiest of all showings, but it was rammed. There was 2 sets of seats I could have picked with a gap to other people. I went to the one at the front. It was so close to the IMAX screen. I was nope, I'll go to the back and switch seats, which thankfully the Odeon let you do now.
Yeah, on the app.
Yeah. So this is Denis Villeneuve.
He of Arrival,
yeah.
And Blade Runner
Yeah.
2049, is it? 2049?
2039? Yeah.
2052? Yeah, so him.
And so let's say this out front. This film looks amazing. Mm-hmm. Everyone has said go see this in the biggest screen possible. Have you ever noticed when films cut to the IMAX cameras?
No.
When you're running an IMAX screen?
I don't really think I do, no.
Because it goes from like a widescreen thing to filling the full screen.
Right.
And it seemed to do this every 5 minutes, which is a little bit distracting.
Is that distracting?
But awesome spectacle. Like the shots of the desert world, which I think is filmed in UAE, I think someone mentioned, is stunning. The effects are stunning. The world that they live in is just beautifully shot, and some of the battle sequences that go on, because there are battles that go on, are beautifully lit. They're at night and there's fires going everywhere. This looks stunning. For me, it's hard work because the plot is so dense in this. The people in front of me were on their phones within 10 minutes checking their emails more than any person have ever done that, and that's just distracting.
That's so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've never been a huge fan of Timothée Chalamet, but this is a star-making turn for him. I mean, even more so than sort of Call Me By Your Name, which he holds up the action, he holds up the storyline of it. He really does hold the film, because he's in virtually every scene.
As Paul.
Yeah, as Paul. Rebecca Ferguson is awesome in it. Oscar Isaac plays a very stately Duke and Paul's father, Leto.
Jared.
It is a little bit dry. All the humour tends to come from Jason Momoa's Duncan.
I didn't like him in the trailer. I felt it was a bit like, here's my comedy line, and how does he fare in the film?
So all the comedy is in the trailer, but he's fine.
And he's called Duncan.
Yeah, and he plays a badass, which
Oh, fair enough.
he doesn't necessarily play like a bit of a goofy badass. He plays like someone who can take someone apart.
Okay.
Stellan Skarsgård is almost unrecognisable as the big bad in this, but Dave Bautista's in it.
Oh, lovely.
I mean, all the Villeneuve.
Oh, the because he was in Blade Runner, wasn't he?
Yeah, Josh
Yeah.
Brolin.
Okay.
Javier Bardem turns up in
He's got a fantastic cast.
Oh yeah, David Dastmalchian.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen in Suicide Squad.
Charlotte Rampling turns up at one point.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. If you are a fan of the book or the 80s film, you will be crying out in joy over this, because I think this is using the very edge of cinematic techniques to make an absolutely stunning film. For me, it was just too much. I respect it rather than enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the characters, and I really hope they make a second film, because I want to spend more time with these people, and I want to see the conclusion of this story, and I don't necessarily want to sit through Sting.
Did you? I'm guessing. I don't know why I'm being so coy. I'm guessing it is left open for a second film.
That is generous.
Yes.
The film just stops.
Okay.
The title is Dune Part 1,
Okay.
and it is more Lord of the Rings than it is It.
Okay, right, I get you.
You know, if there isn't a second part, this will be quickly forgotten, because it's not a complete film.
Yeah.
There isn't a conclusion.
Yeah.
It is, and it would be a hell of a shame to put all this through.
Do you think that if you watched it again, you would get more out of it, having said that it's so dense and that it took you a long time to sort of work out who was who? Sometimes a second watch of a film really lifts all of that, because you know what you're going into.
Almost certainly, yeah. I think you're entirely right there. I just don't tend to watch films twice, and
Especially if you felt they were dense first of all.
Yeah,
You kind of think, oh, I'm going to have to put myself through this film again.
Yeah, I mean, everyone tells me you need to see Fight Club a couple of times to get the most out of it.
I agree. Yeah, I do.
But
yeah.
I thought it was all right the first time, and I'm not gonna
Have you not watched it again?
No, I have seen it.
I've seen it loads of times, and it gets better every time for me, because you can spot so much more, and you know what you're looking for.
But here's an idea: make it better the first time.
But that is a film that everything comes to fruition towards the end, and then that changes your view on what you've seen previously. I'm not suggesting that that's the same with Dune.
No.
Yeah.
And I think Sixth Sense does that as well.
Yeah.
This was not popular in the audience. As the film was winding up, there were people putting their coats on before the titles had rolled.
Right, okay.
And for something that's had such critical love, I mean, I listened to the movie Robcast's review of it, and Rob Daniel on there, who is a huge, from what I can tell, a huge fan of the book and the film from the 80s, was in raptures about this. And I can fully understand that. It is a beautifully made film, and if something I loved was made this well, I would be I would be the same as well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a nod and a tip of my hat to Denis Villeneuve.
How's it done? You're usually really good at this. How's it done at the box office? You keep an eye on that sort of.
Well, it's only launched in the. It's done really well internationally. It's only launched in the UK and America this week.
Okay. Right.
But it has gone to HBO Max in America at the same time as cinemas.
I didn't know that.
And it is not something, like I say, you would be, if you're not 100% focused on this, you will be playing with your phone, as the three people in front of me were, with the 8 tubs of nachos and crisps and everything. Yeah, and they were...
It's giving me anxiety. Just
it was really annoying. And, really tempted to put a tap on the shoulder, Yeah.
And for that sort of film where you and like, if you're going to see Dune, right?
Yeah.
You should know what you're going to see something really immersive. You're going to see something that is a long film. Like, I get really so annoyed with people who are just like, oh, what are we going to see? Oh, we'll just go
in the IMAX.
We'll just go to see this with all of our nachos, and we'll get our phone out. And yes, shouldn't be allowed.
Well, I think eating in cinemas is fine.
Well, I have views on that. But yeah, it depends what you're eating.
Yeah.
It depends what you're eating and how annoying you're being with your phone. Oof. Oh well, I think you still come. I think you've still and correct me if I'm wrong, you still come out of it thinking good things about certain aspects of the
Absolutely.
film. It's not that you've come out of it and said 1 star, which is what you started with when we started the film section. So yeah, it's got better.
Oh yeah, no, it is a phenomenal piece of filmmaking. Yeah, unfortunately, and I was similar with Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was a film that got really good reviews, but when I went to see it, they spent the first 10 minutes talking about Control and the circus, and I was like, I'm sorry, what's this? Who's Control?
Yeah,
Well,
that is...
are there some
similar.
clowns?
Yes, you're right.
Is there an elephant on
Because
top of its
you
hind
get
legs?
shoved into it with the understanding that you kind of get what's going on.
Yeah.
But it is difficult.
And I went to see this with people who were really familiar with the novel and thought, oh, I really loved it.
Yeah.
But for me, I was just, I think, yeah, in the end, I was kind of like trying to do movie connections between Tom Hardy and someone else.
I forgot Tom Hardy.
Arnold.
Yeah. What's coming up next? Because it seemed to be that every week there's like a new film out, which is lovely.
Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho.
I can't write enough.
I'm excited about this.
I know.
And Eternals,
Yes.
which some dickheads have gone and spoiled online, apparently.
It's your favourite word of the podcast at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's gone and... a film journalist has gone and spoiled it. Brilliant.
Yeah, after going to see the premiere.
And they've done the... Is it the end scene or the
post-credits thing
post-credits
apparently
thing
has
again?
been spoiled. Yeah. I've managed to
interesting.
avoid it. I've muted all the phrases.
And you've done it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening from our new location, which is across the way from our old location.
And might sound awful.
I actually think there's much less echo when I'm talking. I feel, and normally we have to put a load of, behind the scenes, we have to put a load of pillows sort of around us to try and, give
This
us
is all
a
going to
good
be hilarious
ambiance.
when you listen
Yeah,
to it tomorrow.
I know,
And
it's
it's
going
like,
to be so echoey. But
awful.
yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
there. Enough about our decoration.
If it sounds good enough that you want to give us another go, please give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at The Honeymoon Pod. And if you would like to leave us a review, please do so on whatever podcast platform you use. We much appreciate it.
And if you like what we do and you think someone else would too, if you wouldn't mind telling a friend or a colleague or whoever else you have in your life.
Just a stranger in the street.
Yeah, I think that's...
See
that's
someone
fair
wearing
enough.
a t-shirt of like a Dune t-shirt, not a Venom t-shirt,
maybe
or an
not.
Undertaker t-shirt.
Yeah, oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.